This is The Drive with Dale Lolley and Matt Williamson on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. SNR, Steelers Nation Radio.
And welcome to The Drive. I'm Dale Lolley. He is Matt Williamson, and we are happily back in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
After a little travel.
A lot of travel today.
Well, a lot of travel.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to this coffee. It's been a long day. Kicking in.
Yeah.
But we hustled back for you guys.
West Palm Beach to LaGuardia, and from LaGuardia to Pittsburgh.
Yeah, no stumbles, but did have a
stumbles.
5 a.m. alarm this morning, so it's been kind of a long day.
That's what we do to make sure that we bring you a show every day that we're supposed to do so, even though there were some issues in Florida, things that you can't
Yeah, we had some weather
control.
stuff. I mean, that wasn't a big deal.
Yeah, and that was the one thing about the setup in West Palm Beach that wasn't, or I should say Palm Beach, because we stayed in West Palm Beach. We go across
Right.
the
I
water
learned that when we were there, too.
Yes.
Yeah, the island is Palm Beach.
Yes.
Palm Beach is nice.
It's nice, and they don't want us in the breakers.
No, not even a little bit.
Whereas at other league meetings, we're indoors, or this one
They'd give us a hallway or a ballroom or whatever, right?
Yeah, you're outside, and Mother Nature.
Yeah, it came crashing
sometimes
in.
calls. Anyways, so we're now back in Pittsburgh, and we're about 22 days from the draft.
I think you said that when we were in the airport. You mentioned it. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not that far out.
22 days
Makes
from the
sense.
draft, so a little over 3 weeks here. I guess that would make sense because today's Wednesday. The draft starts on a Thursday. So
Yeah, there you go. Right.
tomorrow we'll be 3 weeks out officially. And Matt, I am more convinced than ever that the Steelers are taking a defensive lineman in the first round.
I'm unbelievably convinced of it. I think that they might go multiple. I absolutely think that Jackson Dart at 21 is a pipe dream that the national media has created to get him in the first round so their mock drafts look good. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to be a Steeler. And I think they're really interested in Milroe, though. Not in round one. I mean, these are the things I'm starting to really
they're into
feel.
those
No one's told me these things.
Round 3 and 4 quarterbacks.
Yeah, and maybe I don't think Milroe even gets to that third pick, but he's the one I think that they would be really tempted to. Otherwise, it might be next year's project. But I'm with you. I think it's going to be D-line.
It was no coincidence. Twice Mike Tomlin mentioned, "Hey, look, we visited Notre Dame. We were at
Ohio State, Texas, right?
Yeah, we were at Texas. Those guys, and they all have quarterback prospects. Yeah, they all have quarterback prospects, but they're all mid-round quarterback prospects.
Right. And of course, there were people at Mississippi. I'm sure someone is at Colorado's pro day or whatever too. But they really made a note of those three schools.
I know who wasn't at Colorado's pro day.
Right. I know who was not at Mississippi's either.
Right.
Decision makers.
Yes.
And by the way, though, as I've said many times, Notre Dame, Texas, and Ohio State.
They have other dudes.
They have other players that are pretty good. So you should probably go to those schools.
But, I look at we haven't talked about some of these guys, some of these quarterbacks at length, some of these later round guys. There are things that you can like about Riley Leonard or Quinn Ewers or Will Howard.
One of them might hit.
Or the Syracuse kid.
Sure, McCord. Right. Rourke. And, all these guys.
These guys all have some traits that I look at and go, I could see in 2 years that guy developing into a starter.
Yeah, and I think it's real easy narrative to say, this quarterback class stinks. It's not wonderful at the top. I really think there's one guy that has a true first-round grade.
Which is how the quarterback class is always going to be measured.
Yeah, right.
It's always going to be, where's who are your first rounders? Who's your surefire future stars or future long-term starters?
But I will say rounds 3 through 5, maybe even into rounds 3 through 6. I like that group more than I do most years.
I'll bet at least one of those guys
is a starter.
Becomes a starter in the league. I'm not.
Maybe not Dak Prescott.
Maybe he's not the next Brock Purdy.
Sure.
But maybe he is a long-term starter for a team. Dak Prescott, he may not be that. He may not be Russell Wilson. But
right.
Those guys, there's enough of them this year.
One of them will
One of them's going to hit.
Make it. Not just last in the league. I mean, be a starter. Yeah. I believe that too. That being said, because Rudolph's on a 2-year deal, I don't need another Rudolph. I'd like to take a bite at one of those apples because I do like all those guys you mentioned, varying degrees. but because I think there's a really good chance Rudolph's going to be here this year and next, I'm not looking for a backup right now, I mean, but they're valuable guys.
Yeah, I mean, if you draft that guy and 2 years from now, he's now Rudolph.
Mm-hmm. Right. Then
Okay.
especially with a 5th round pick or whatever.
Yeah, because remember, Mason Rudolph didn't play at all his rookie year.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason he played in his second year is because Ben Roethlisberger got hurt.
Mm-hmm. Well,
so, it was a
that's
process.
why I keep coming back to Milroe, though.
Yeah.
Because I don't think Dart's going to be a Steeler. I almost know Sanders isn't going to be a Steeler. Ward will not be a Steeler.
Yeah.
Those other guys, I like that crew. But if one guy is going to be the starter, I think it's the dude from Bama.
He's got the most upside.
Right. And he would do nothing this year. There'll be 2 guys ahead of him, presumably. And maybe he just gets his jersey dirty here and there or is inactive or whatever. And then that whole thing I wrote about or we talked about with the nest and all the picks and all that, you might be like, well, what if we already have our guy? I mean, this guy's got dynamic qualities.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, I'm not predicting he's going to be a Steeler, but he'd be the one that I would target if I were them.
Yeah,
Eli Milroe.
I think I would be in that same boat. I've said all along, I think he has the highest. I think he's a higher upside than Cam Ward.
Me too. I mean, I'm not saying he could be Lamar, but I mean, he's as good a runner and he's as good an athlete, and frankly, he's a very similar thrower to Josh Allen at the same age.
Yeah.
I mean, kind of tight, everything's on a line, but there's a lot of highs, and the deep ball's really good, and he's a big-time student of the game and high-character guy. I know he's got warts, but, I mean, I keep thinking if they trade down in round 1 and accumulate more stuff,
Yeah.
one of those stuff might be Milroe.
Yeah, some of that stuff is I do believe will be another quarterback because they're going to take 4 to camp.
They're going to take 4 to camp, no doubt.
We know that.
Yeah.
The guy who's kind of grown on me, and I know he doesn't fit the profile necessarily of what teams are looking for, and I think McCord has.
I do too.
More ups. He has some upside there too. I think his aggressiveness.
Yeah.
And the way he attacks defenses.
Well, you're going to get I promise you there will be YouTube comments for mentioning him because you bring him up around here, you get some blowback.
Oh, he had 5 interceptions against Pitt.
Against Pitt, right. And, oh, by the way, there's a lot of Ohio State overlap around here, too, and he wasn't good enough to take my Buckeyes. If you watch the rest of his Syracuse tape, except for a half against Pitt, you're going to like him.
Yeah.
He's an aggressive NFL-type player. I like McCord a lot.
Yeah, he just doesn't fit that, you need a running quarterback mold.
That's what I was about to say, too. Like, if the quarterbacks are Rodgers, Rudolph, McCord, they're all somewhat in the same mold now, but I'm not sure that's what they want
long-term.
Next.
Long-term.
Yeah, right.
But even if I think he has the best.
He might be the guy you're talking about.
Backup qualities.
He might be the long-term starter
or
that no one
starter
seems coming.
Right. Right.
He was a highly recruited guy who went to Ohio State. I mean, he's got tools.
Yeah, and
he's not super athletic.
I think one of the things that you look at when you look at if I'm bringing in a quarterback, a backup quarterback type, he can't be afraid of the game.
And he's not.
And McCord's not afraid of the game.
No, right. I mean, at worst, maybe who knows about worst? Possibly he turns into Ryan Fitzpatrick. One of those guys that's kind of a wild card, throws some crazy picks, Minshew, somebody like that.
Yeah, but he also makes some plays.
And lasts in the league for 12 years.
Right.
And retires with a bunch of dollars in the bank. Right.
But I just think that's kind of where we're at with that. It's going to be a mid-round quarterback. It's not going to be a first-round quarterback.
Right. I think Milroe's the highest-graded guy you could wish for, from Milroe down to the last quarterback taken, whoever that is.
We also, I think some of the quote-unquote character issue stuff with Walter Nolan was being overblown. Mm-hmm. Just talking to some people down there, I think there were some teams trying to, or agents or whoever it was,
right,
trying to either improve the stock of their guys ahead of Walter Nolan, or other teams trying to talk Walter Nolan down so that he doesn't go as high.
I'm not saying it because they're a division rival or whatever, but if the Bengals, who love Nolan, there's character issues out there. I mean, it's just it's lying season, folks.
Yeah.
I have heard, and when you and I haven't talked about this, I've heard recently that he can kind of be a loner. Like he's not always engaged with the team. Like he kind of does his own thing. He's got a little bit of a different personality. Not that he thinks he's better than everybody else or anything like that. He's just not as rah-rah in the middle of the group. He might be kind of on the fringes,
I mean, I saw that. I mean, early in Lawrence Timmons' career, for example, Timmons had some. He wasn't necessarily
like that big worry of Herbert coming out.
Yeah,
he's too introverted.
He was
right.
quiet. He didn't like when you stuck cameras in his face. He just went about his business.
Right.
But as he matured as a player, as he matured as a person,
gets more comfortable in the league.
He got more comfortable and became what you would hope your one of your starting inside linebackers would be.
I mean, contrary to popular belief, every football player isn't Dick Butkus run through a wall, ogre from Revenge of the Nerds. They hold different personalities.
They all have different personalities, and that's okay.
Yeah.
It's up to your coaching staff then to bring
the personalities together. Yeah, right. Yeah,
or the leadership in your locker room.
Right. And maybe Nolan's a little bit different a cat. I don't know, but if he's hanging with Cam Hayward, I bet that's a pretty good influence.
Yeah. I can remember, for another example, David DeCastro.
I remember he wasn't big on talking to you guys.
He didn't talk to anybody.
Then he won the Chief Award down the road, right?
3 years later, he wins the Chief Award because he's again, smart guy.
Mm-hmm.
And
this wasn't as
just
bad.
Wasn't, you're a young guy coming into the NFL. I think he kind of took more of a measured look at things.
Mm-hmm.
And
business approach.
Yeah. And
makes sense.
As he got more comfortable in his own skin, then opened up and became that leader type that you want to see.
Yeah. And frankly, folks, I mean, I assume you guys all know this. Commenting on any player's personality or injuries isn't what we're here to do.
No,
it's a guess. I mean, it's fourth-hand information,
No, I mean, quite frankly, I get to see these guys. I'm in the locker room on a daily basis.
It's different once they're here. I'm talking about draft prospects.
Yeah, but the draft prospects, I mean, they've been coached up so much when they get on the podium in Indianapolis or they're talking at the Senior Bowl, they know exactly what to say.
Yeah. You read like, oh, he's introverted or he's high on himself or, blah, blah, blah. You don't really know these things,
Yeah. You're just working off of what other people say.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, it's I just think, again, we're going to continue to see as we get closer and closer to the draft, the national mock drafts continuing to have the Steelers picking a quarterback in the first round, and it is not happening.
I don't think
in my opinion. I don't think it's happening.
I'd be really shocked if Dart's a Steeler. I'd be really shocked. He may even go before 21. I kind of hope he does. But I don't get the inclination that that's the route they're going to take at all. And we said this last time we were sitting in this room. I mean, when we do these mocks and you don't take a D lineman to start things off, it feels like you're paddling upstream the rest of the draft to try to get it. And there are good ones. I mean, and
what
Farmer and those
what the Steelers have right now, contrary to the belief of some, they have a good roster.
They do.
But they do have a couple of holes.
Mm-hmm.
Defensive line being one of them.
Yeah. It needs attention.
You filled in free agency all of the other holes.
Wants and needs are different. D-line's a need.
It's a need.
It needs to be addressed. At least one prominent dude, maybe more.
And yes, we understand there's not a starting quarterback in place right now.
Of course, but I think there will be soon.
Yeah.
If that goes haywire, then it's maybe a different story. Not that they would get in Dart conversation, but
then maybe you start talking about trading for Kirk Cousins or whatever it may be. But right now, the focus is on, I think, defensive line and getting Aaron Rodgers.
In the draft.
Yeah, in the
draft. Yeah. I mean, I would like to see them take a running back. If they didn't, I could understand. I bet they will. If they don't take a D lineman, I can't justify that. I have no idea how. I mean, and again, I wouldn't mind too. I think that room needs a big infusion.
I think I told you I saw a 7-round mock draft last week before we left.
Mm-hmm.
And again, doing a 7-round mock draft is an effort.
Yeah.
But in the 7-round mock draft, I can't even remember who did it. They had the Steelers taking no defensive linemen.
Right.
Not one.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, and
what are you doing here?
Yeah. And again, that's tough. I mean, to think as every team does, and where we concentrate on one. I mean, you talk to Jerry Dulac or anyone that covers a team that we're down there, it's like D-line's the biggest need. A man what's around the team a lot knows these things. And if you really dug in, you'd figure it out. I mean, it doesn't mean it was a bad unit last year, but your best guy is up in age. And,
Right.
by the way, Ogunjobi's not coming back.
Yeah, right.
What have you added?
Yeah.
I mean, and what's the future?
You've added some depth pieces.
Yeah.
And your best defensive lineman is 35.
Yeah. What's the future look like? And you want to keep a strength of strength.
Yeah. Let's get to a break. He is the Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley, the well-traveled Matt Williamson. And we are the Drive.
Mm-hmm.
We're back here. No Max Starks. No Jerry
No,
Gould.
back to normal.
Back us two. The
But
two
we have
of
a
us
guest coming up.
We do have a guest coming up. Cue the music. It'll be time for the Dean of Doom, the Lord of Living in His Fears, Bob Labriola, right after this. Welcome back to The Drive. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, and we welcome into the show the Dean of Doom, the Lord of Living in His Fears, Bob Labriola. How you doing, Labs?
I'm liking the music. I said this last week, but I just want to reiterate. I'm liking the music.
It's really growing on me.
Yeah. I mean, and I'll tell you what, if you guys wanted to, change it up every other week with the Darth Vader music.
That's good.
We talked about that. Yeah.
I'm not going to try and tell Justin how to do his job because Lord knows he does it a whole lot better than I could. So, but I just, that's another song that
it's a good one.
Kind of, gets the juices flowing, so to speak. So
Jaws.
Boys doing Palm Beach, huh?
Jaws was one of my suggestions, Labs.
Yeah, well, I am a big mouth.
We were close enough to the ocean in Palm Beach to perhaps see a shark, but we didn't.
We had a good time, all in all.
Yeah.
It's a little weary
Well,
today,
go.
but
Well,
a lot
guys
of
are
travel
young.
today.
You guys are young.
So,
Get over it.
so Bob, we've now seen the kind of rule changes / tweaks. Anything that caught your eye with what the league is passed there or didn't pass?
Very happy that the division winners, that whole system was preserved. We talked about this last week. I'm a strong believer in, winning your division is an accomplishment and it deserves to be rewarded. And I was glad that, that was maintained. The tush-push thing, it doesn't surprise me that it got tabled. I don't know that, a lot of times when the commissioner, whoever it is, Tagliabue, Roger, doesn't have a concrete, hard and fast, ironclad opinion on something, the process is, there's conversation, debate in March, and then there's another meeting in May. So between now and then, who knows? Maybe some things will crystallize or whatever. But as I said last week, I don't think that there's enough, hard and fast injury information, injury data that it would make it, a threat to player safety. And I just don't know how you get it overturned unless you have some specific hard data that you can tie to the player safety, and then it would have a chance for the people that oppose it.
It sounded like the league was kind of 50-50 on it, too. So maybe it is better just to talk about it another day,
Yeah, right. And who knows? There might be some arm twisting between now and May.
Yeah, maybe some lobbying, right?
Or different factions, the pros or the cons, in terms of the rule. And, again, I didn't really think that had much of a chance of being banned at this point. But I was happy because every now and then a group or faction tries to get the division thing overturned, and I'm glad that was beaten back once again. I just hope that never passes.
Bob, we're now 3 weeks out from the draft, so we're getting closer and closer here, and that was kind of reiterated, when Omar Khan spoke, when Mike Tomlin spoke, even when Art Rooney, the second, spoke. Hey, look, free agency, first of all, is still ongoing. But secondly, there are also other ways to acquire players, including the draft, and Omar mentioned trades as well, that this offseason is not done yet, and really there's nothing being done on the football field at this point. So you're still in that talent acquisition period.
Yeah, and, really, though, what I think in terms of the Steelers at this point, the way that I would describe the franchise, and this is just my personal, view of it, is they're in the information gathering stage, the pre-draft preparation stage. I think that I'm not going to rule out that, there's any conversations going on about free agency. I know Omar and his staff can multitask, certainly. But at this point, the primary focus, I believe, would be on the draft prep, getting all of the information that you need / want on the draft-eligible players. I mean, you're narrowing your list down as each day goes by in terms of who are the A players, who are the B players, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then you get your board set up, and you really need to, in my opinion, have another good draft. I think the Steelers have had a couple of good drafts back-to-back, and now they need another one because this, rebuild, retool, whatever you want to call it, is definitely not over. It's not completed.
So, Labs, Mike Tomlin and then Omar Khan were predictably asked by the media about the Aaron Rodgers situation, and they both acknowledged it, as you know, but they didn't jump down the rabbit hole or really get really far depth into where that conversation's going. But then Mr. Rooney was asked, and were you a little shocked by the definitiveness of his statements?
No, because I really don't think that they were that definitive. I mean, I think that in the
he had a different tone, though, than Omar.
In the interpretation of them as being definitive, I think that's more of a hope, wishful thinking by the people listening, people who are interested in it being the situation coming to a head, being over one way or the other. And then there are certainly the factions that are rooting for that to be over one way or the other. In other words, yay or nay. But again, it's to me there was not it trending in the right way or looking like it's going in or whatever. However, Art Rooney phrased it. If it was a court of law, there's still reasonable doubt, as they say.
Is there still as much reasonable doubt, though, after the video surfaces of him playing catch with DK Metcalf?
Again, I think, you can be trending one way or the other, but, I don't know that I would vote with a lot of assuredness one way or the other. Again, I mean, I think that as I said, everybody kind of wants it to be over. And then within that group that wants it to be over, they want it to be resolved in the way that they want it to be resolved. So there's a hope there. But, I mean, seriously, you cannot say – I would not say beyond a reasonable doubt that Aaron Rodgers will be a Pittsburgh Steeler in 2025, nor would I say that he would not be a Pittsburgh Steeler beyond a reasonable doubt. I think that, just the nature of the guy himself, I think it's foolish to think you got it figured out. Until he decides. And, so that's where we are.
Deadlines weren't discussed or anything, but I've got to think that they need an answer by the draft. Don't you agree?
Well, let me say this. I think they need an answer by by OTAs. That's when I would, if it were me, I would want an answer by OTAs, and I would want him at OTAs.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Without a
None
doubt,
of this
yeah.
going to Egypt or any of that. That stuff that happened last year. Maybe that was mini camp.
That was mini camp. You skipped to go to Egypt, yes.
Okay.
That's not going to fly.
Vacation of a lifetime.
Right. Yeah. Buy the documentary. See the pyramids.
The pyramids have been there a long time.
Right.
Probably will be after he retires too.
Discovery Channel or whatever. Pyramids. But I just think that it's important for the receivers and the quarterback to have some sort of rapport. Certainly the DK Metcalf, Aaron Rodgers little exercise was a step in that direction. I've also seen speculation that maybe Aaron Rodgers wanted to see who his number one receiver would have left in the tank, or what he could bring, or because they never played together. If he would end up in Pittsburgh, but Russell Wilson, I thought last year, he did a lot of things starting with OTAs in terms of winning the locker room, learning his teammates learning him, all of that kind of stuff. And I think that that's important. So as I said, in my opinion, if it was up to me, which it is not, I would want it to be done. To me, the deadline would not be the draft. You'd like it by then, certainly, but the deadline for me would be whatever the first day of OTAs is.
And that's been kind of my stance on this all along, Bob, that if he's coming, he has to be all in. It can't be just 1 foot here and 1 foot in Egypt, or wherever, on top of Mount Sinai, or wherever it is that he wants to go. And you have to be part of this. You have to be present. And that's, to your point, is what Russell Wilson did last year. I think there's a misnomer out there that Cam Hayward and Minkah Fitzpatrick and T.J. Watt were recruiting Russell Wilson. It was the other way around. Russell Wilson reached out to those guys and called those guys and said, "Hey, look, I want to come. I'm thinking about signing with the Steelers. I want to check with you guys first and make sure you guys are okay with me joining that locker room." So I do think that there's a difference there. And let's be honest, in many cases, employees, which is what Aaron Rodgers would be, will get away or try to get away with whatever his employer will put up with, in terms of, I don't have to go to minicamp.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to go. Well, I got this vacation planned.
I just think the Steelers and Jets are such massively different organizations.
If the Jets had put their foot down and said, "No, you got to be here. You got to be here for minicamp. These are mandatory." Mm-hmm. Then I just think that maybe their season goes differently last year. I just think when Aaron Rodgers goes to the GM and says, "Hey, go get me Alan Lazard and all my
Randall Cobb
and all these guys," and then they do it. Go hire Nathaniel Hackett, who had lasted not even a half a season as a head coach in Denver,
and they do it.
Right. I just think it sets a bad precedent. And so, I think there are some boundaries that need to be set up.
And that may have happened during that meet and greet.
Right.
Yeah.
And that might be what he is. Why is he not signing? Well, he may be mulling this. Look, I'm not going to have the control that I did in Green Bay or that I did in New York.
It might be even similar to Russell Wilson. It sounds like his first year in Denver with Hackett.
Yeah.
He took advantage of the situation to some degree, or thought maybe he was bigger in the organization, and Sean Payton didn't see it that way at all. And then he comes here and was great.
And you learn. I guess I can't do those things.
Yeah.
Yeah, the big difference, though, I think, with Russell Wilson in Denver was Sean Payton did not inherit that move. Sean Payton was not on board with that move. Excuse me. Yeah. Sean Payton inherited
He did inherit that move.
He did not initiate it.
Was not his style of quarterback.
I misspoke there. So, that's a little bit different, certainly, with the Jets, I believe. I mean, I'm not that sure about the Jets, but I will say this. It seems to me that, that Mike Tomlin is in on this and has to be in favor of it, I would believe. And so, whatever was talked about during that meet and greet at the UPMC Rooney Sports Complex, and Mike Tomlin was there, I'm sure that there were a lot of those kinds of issues brought up, discussed, whatever, what expectations are for what. And, it just seems to me that for a player who has been in the NFL as long as Aaron Rodgers has, when OTAs and minicamp is, you got a decent idea.
Yeah.
You may miss it by a couple of days, maybe a week if you're forecasting it. But, it's not like the fact that OTAs start in late May and minicamp is, sometime around the middle of around the middle of June is a big shock.
Right.
It's been that way forever. So,
you're a 20-year veteran. I think you know when it's coming.
Yeah, right. And certainly his agent is,
Right.
There's just too much experience, been there, done that in terms of an NFL calendar for, that to be a surprise. So, we'll see what happens.
So, Labs, I think we all agree that the big people on defense is the biggest need, especially on that side of the ball, but with the whole team, D-line. And I'd love to see him add 2. But the more I look at outside linebacker, inside linebacker, safety, corner, I think they might be pretty close to being done. I think the depth chart, they'll tweak it. They may add a Quan Alexander at camp or a 5th-round pick or something like that. But for the most part, I think every position but one is basically done on defense.
I don't. You done at corner?
If the right guy falls to me, I'll take him, but it's not a need.
You got Darius Slay on a 1-year deal,
right?
Corey Trice is one slip on wet grass away from, another knee injury. I'm certainly not rooting for that or
right.
Trying to jinx him or anything. But I don't think your cornerback situation is top of the depth chart stuff is.
You wouldn't be comfortable going in with
done.
This group. You want at least one more?
I'm not saying I wouldn't be comfortable going in with this group, but I would like to have a young guy who is, top of the depth chart potential kind of player added.
Even a 4th-round pick or something like that.
Yeah, that would help me not live in my fears. Maybe cut down on the.
Yeah, we are talking to the Lord living in his fears here.
Right. The
Understood.
Music,
yeah.
My entry music. But, corner to me is, how many, you never have enough of those guys. I think on your 53-man roster, you could keep 6 corners.
Mm-hmm.
You got 6 corners you like? I don't.
Like Beanie doesn't count to me as one of the 6. If he makes it, fine, but I'm not, right. I'm not chiseling him on a stone as a roster guy.
Well, okay, then you.
To your point, the 6. I'm not counting him as a 6. If he makes a team, fine, but I'm not like, he's definitely a Steeler.
You don't. Okay. I'm.
Which is
I'm
backing up your point. Yeah.
Exactly. I'm looking at him as one of my 6, and I still want to add one.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay. Yeah, I can see another. I just don't.
Don't sleep on Brandon Echols.
I do like the Echols versatility.
On anybody.
I think he's a good. I think he's a good player.
That's fine, and I'm not saying he's not. I'm talking about numbers.
Sure, I hear you.
Numbers.
Yeah, I hear you.
Injuries are coming.
Injuries are coming.
Just like winter, except we're coming out of winter. Bob, with the draft upcoming here in Green Bay in a few weeks. And, of course, next year at this time we'll be in the preparation for the draft here in Pittsburgh. Are you going to be watching the draft a little bit differently this year, knowing that?
Let me tell you this. The preparation for the draft in Pittsburgh, we're having weekly meetings about that already.
Really?
So, yeah, right. The plans, there are a lot of plans for the what's being called the mobile exhibit.
Yeah.
That's going to be a part of the presentation for the draft in Pittsburgh. There's a lot of things that have been settled already with respect to that, what it's going to look like.
It's like hosting a Super Bowl.
Right. I don't know anything about hosting a Super Bowl, but I'm just telling you that the work on this has already started and has been. We've been doing this since January. So,
wow.
It's not something that I don't think you can kind of put together in a short amount of time, especially in terms of some of the things that they want to do and showcase, and for the fans, because it is in Pittsburgh, but this is an NFL event.
Yeah.
I mean, there are going to be people. There will be Steelers fans there certainly, and all of that good stuff. But there's going to be a lot of people who are fans of other teams that are going to come, and they're going to wear their jerseys, their Eagles jerseys or Browns jerseys or whatever. Drive to Pittsburgh because that's one of the things that I thought made Pittsburgh an attractive spot was the number of fan bases that are, or let me say this, the number of teams whose home cities are within a short drive of Pittsburgh. Both towards the Midwest, towards the east, a little bit to the south, maybe down to Nashville, Indianapolis, Cincinnati, all those places. So I think a lot of people from fans of other teams are going to make the trip to Pittsburgh, either because they have been to previous drafts and enjoyed them, or because they have heard a lot of or watched them on TV, and it looks like a lot of fun. Hey, Pittsburgh is close. Let's try that. So, the fact that the draft is coming and Green Bay is having it, in terms of watching it, me personally, I don't really, I won't say I don't care, but I don't think that what Green Bay does has a big impact on what, Pittsburgh and the Steelers want to do. And in terms of the 2026 draft, I'm just looking at, my own particular little slice of heaven here in terms of, the committee that I'm on and the plans for that are ongoing.
It does mean that 25 days from now, Pittsburgh will officially be on the clock.
On the clock, huh? Right.
Yeah, well.
Pretty cool.
And that clock, everybody thinks that clock is set for April 2026. I'm telling you, that clock is set to strike the witching hour many, many months before that.
Absolutely. Well, Bob, since you are so busy, we will let you get back to back
get
to
that
the
all
crypt.
ironed out before we talk next Wednesday.
Right. Yeah, well, you guys will be the first to know.
That's Bob Labriola, editor of Steelers Digest, and coming up out of the crypt and the coming up out of there. Cue the music.
Great stuff.
We weren't ready for
Oh,
that.
come
We
on,
weren't ready for that. There we go. Yeah, we have to have the exit music as well. But he is Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. This is The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network. Labs, we'll talk to you soon. Thanks a lot. Welcome back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, and this is The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network. And longtime listeners of the show, Matt, know what fans we are of the movie Tombstone.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was, we get to the airport.
Woke up to that this morning.
Get to the airport this morning, start scrolling as we're waiting for and I see Val Kilmer died. I'm just like, man.
Yeah, and it's not his only good one, too.
No, it's
he's
not,
done a lot of huge, great ones.
Yeah.
I mean, Heat and Top Gun and The Doors, and a big one. No doubt about it. But Doc Holliday's pretty high on maybe the most quotable of all time characters, period.
Wow,
and
Johnny
high on my
Ringo,
list there,
he
right.
looked like somebody just walked across your grave.
There's about 1,000 of them. Right.
Tremendous.
I stand corrected. You are an oak.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go watch that tonight at home.
Yeah, in honor. Yeah, it's pretty darn good.
Yeah. And
one of the most quotable movies ever. But
I couldn't
led
believe,
by
like,
Val Kilmer.
when I used to do the shows with Adam Crowley, and he had not seen that movie. and I had to give him. I had the director's cut.
I think that holds up no matter what.
Oh, I watch that all the time when it's on.
Well,
every time it's on, I watch it.
But I mean, like I watched that in college and after. I mean,
Sure.
but would my son get into it? Would the younger generations?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, it's just the memorable lines, the one.
Right. Because
Yeah.
it's not like it's. Well, why didn't they pull their cell phone out? That I mean, like
It's not like watching. Like my dad liked to watch westerns.
right.
When
That's what I was
a
sitting here
kid.
thinking. Is it like
this is
my
not watching
father-in-law
Shane,
loved
you
watching
know?
that stuff, and I'm
And I'm
like,
like,
it's a little much, right?
yeah.
You know. So along those lines, like my son asked me, he's like, "Dad, give me your best comedies," but he's like, they have to be from 2000 or later. Otherwise, I just don't get them. I'm trying my best. I'm like, okay. I mean, I get the generation gap.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's one of the things about that particular movie. Like, if you watch the westerns from the 50s and 60s and stuff, they were still dressed like they were in the haircuts were.
even
what
like
they had from the 60s.
even the TV productions of it all is still pretty rough.
Whereas
with
with Tombstone, it was more they all grew the mustaches.
Mhm.
They all
no, I think it holds up great.
Yeah.
because a lot don't.
Yeah.
No,
I
but
think
that's
that
a
was-
big one.
yeah.
Val Kilmer's awesome.
Yeah. So it's a shame.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
you
Iceman's a big character.
Kind
I
of
mean,
knew
there's
it was
some great
coming
ones,
if you
so.
saw the last Top Gun movie. That this.
Oh, I don't know if you saw
remake.
the documentary on Netflix.
I did.
Where
Yeah.
he,
I did.
basically, it was pretty clear. I'm not trying to be coarse, but he was at the end of his life, and kind of they did a really good documentary on him, and he was not in great shape at the time, obviously, but
Yeah.
awesome
So,
career.
Yeah, great career, great actor, some great performances, and it's too bad.
Doc, I got a lot of friends.
I don't.
I don't. Good
Yeah.
stuff.
Good stuff. So that wasn't the news that you wanted to wake up to today, but
Yeah.
it is what it is. Did you see, Matt? One of the things that we didn't talk about, the NFL voted to incorporate the old AAFC stats.
I didn't notice that. No.
So it was the All-American Football Conference,
Mm-hmm.
which was existed from 46 to 49. You're talking about the Cleveland Browns, their original formation there.
Yeah.
The 49ers were part of that. The Baltimore Colts were part of that. And so
How many teams were in the AA?
now you're asking
Okay.
way more than what I knew, but
I said we tapped out on my knowledge of that organization.
so it gives the Browns an additional 52 regular season and playoff wins. Or Paul Brown.
Oh, I see what
Paul
you're saying.
Brown.
Okay. Probably not kind to the Steelers.
So now he has moved
For the
from
40s.
22nd place on the all-time coaching list to 7th.
Wow. That's deserved. I
Yeah.
got no problem with that. I mean, it's certainly going to help them a lot more. It's going to help the Steelers. But, I mean, do they count that for, like, wins? You know, like how
Here's the interesting thing.
Okay, yeah.
In 1948, the Browns went 14-0 in the regular season and then won the championship to go 15-0. Do we
So-
now have, because they've given this the okay, we're going to include this in our record books.
That's the same as the Dolphins?
Is it the same as the Dolphins? No, they say Dolphins in the Super Bowl era.
Yeah.
That's the
I
difference.
mean, that's the line of demarcation is the Super Bowl era. There has to be others, though. I mean, didn't the Canton Bulldogs go 7-0 in 1922 or something? And, there has to be some teams that have gone undefeated at the beginning of time.
It also makes, for example, Marion Motley's 5.7 yards per carry, when you add in those numbers, makes it the fourth best for a running back with at least 750 carries in his
Okay.
career. Raised his
He's
average.
still behind like Jamal Charles and Jim Brown.
Yeah.
And
Lou
but
Groza
hard enough.
moves up to 24th in all-time
Okay.
scoring, the toe.
But where I was
Y.A.
thinking
Tittle's
is,
numbers improved because he was part of that.
like when they do how many victories every franchise has, well, all of a sudden the Browns are a lot higher on the list now, right?
Here's the interesting one for
They were by far the best team
Steeler
of
fans.
that generation. Though.
the 1948 49ers. Ran for 3,663 yards. That is now the NFL record in a single season.
Wow.
The Ravens got kicked out off the top of the pile there. I guarantee you John Harbaugh not happy about that.
Right. Might have to beat it next year. I don't know how I feel about it. I mean, it's so long ago. None of us remember those teams. I mean, maybe our grandfathers do, et cetera. But all the things we've kind of known to be true aren't quite as true anymore, just overnight because everyone got together and said, well, let's change all the stats, change history,
Change a little history, kind of like Val Kilmer.
Yeah, there you go.
Is Doc Holliday. Bringing it all back around. Let's get to a break.
Go watch Tombstone, everyone.
Yeah, go watch Tombstone. Go watch The Doors.
There's a lot of
stuff. There's a lot of them.
Heat's great.
Heat's great, yeah.
Top Gun.
Anyways, that's going to do it for hour number 1 of The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. Matt and I will be back with hour number 2 right after this. And we are back. I'm Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, and we are happy to be back in Pittsburgh. And we are happy not to be doing owners' meetings. Like we enjoy the owners' meetings.
Yeah, but it's good to be home.
It's draft time.
It is. It's draft time, and pro days are coming to an end. It's really draft time these next couple
Steeler
weeks.
visits, I have an inkling, are going to really ramp up here.
All across the league. Yeah.
The
Everybody's
30
home.
visits.
I mean, now all the scouts are back in, and pretty
In fact,
soon
I would
they'll
be
all move
surprised.
back in.
I'll bet the Steelers in the next 2 days have 5 to 7 visitors.
I could see that.
They haven't had any the last couple of weeks.
Right.
They were out at pro days
There's not much time
last
anymore.
week. Yeah, you're running out of time.
Right.
And they've only had maybe 7 or 8 guys in thus far.
You're going to start having war room meetings, which are
Yeah.
all day long, and then some. Right. Build that board.
So we've got our boards built in our minds
Mm-hmm.
here, and we'll do a little mock draft today on using the Pro Football Focus simulator.
All right.
Use that one today. We haven't used that one in a few days, and the picks are in.
Okay.
We are up at 21. We have 7 trade offers.
Holy smokes.
You have the Rams picking at 26, the Commanders at 29, the Bills at 30, and then everybody else is outside of the first round. So I'm interested.
That neighborhood really interests me.
Yeah.
Because I think, side note, and my mind's always changing on these. I mean, again, I'm not a draftnik 365 days a year, so I always feel like I'm catching up. But there's a lot of these. I love the top 3 defensive tackles. Well, Mason Graham aside, the next 3.
He
quite a bit.
doesn't fit the defense. He's a 4-3.
He's not gonna be there. I mean, I don't. He's kind of irrelevant. But Alfred Collins and Tyleek Williams, and maybe they're
These
slight
guys would
tier
fill a
behind.
need.
They're really good.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think that if you get enough to go down, and you have to settle for one of them, you might be real happy. You know what I mean? There's a couple of those guys in this draft where, I like Harmon and Nolan and Grant a lot. Don't get me wrong. I just think that the discrepancy between those 3 and the guys right behind them is smaller than I thought.
Yeah, no, I
You know
agree.
what I mean? So thus,
I'm going to talk to the Commanders first here because they have a second-round pick. The Rams do not.
as I say, Bills Commanders neighborhood for that reason interests me more to get more stuff.
If I can get – because to go from 29 to 21, you're going to have to give me your second-round pick.
Yeah. Maybe we'll throw you a 5th or something.
Yeah.
Or who knows how it all goes. But that's a late second.
Right. That's a late second. So I'm going to offer it first just straight up. 29, 61.
2 picks for 1.
For 21. They accepted that.
All right.
So deal's done.
And we do that right now.
I think I would.
Yeah.
That gets me back into that second round, as we've talked about.
You get a pretty premium pick.
Yeah. All right. And I specifically asked Omar Khan about that at the meetings. I said, look, you've acquired all these compensatory picks next year, but you've traded away your 2 this year in the DK Metcalf deal. Could you foresee either utilizing some of those picks to get back into the second round or doing something to get back into the second round? He says, look, in the 2 years that we've done this, you've seen I've moved around
A lot.
I'm willing to move around, and that would be a possibility.
I know we just picked up a second-round pick, but I think it goes without saying that GMs, I should have said this long ago, GMs don't necessarily we have to get back in the second round. They're looking at it like, this is pick 59, this is pick 73.
What's our board look like,
Exactly.
and where do we need to get back into that wave of players?
Exactly. It's not, boy, we have to get in this round.
Right.
The difference between the 33rd pick and the end of the second round.
But the
is
difference
light years
between
away.
Washington's second pick at 61 and the Rams' second pick at 90 is significant.
It gets you well out of the
even
the
though you're
sweet
not
spot.
you're not going down as far to go down with the Rams.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to 26 as opposed to 29.
Yeah. No, you got to get that 2 involved
Yeah.
in a deal like that.
All right, so we are up at 29.
Okay.
We do have 2 more trade offers,
We
but
probably should stifle that.
the top player available, Derek Harmon.
I got no problem with that at all.
I think that's a no-brainer.
Yeah. And I'm even warming. I said this probably a month ago. I don't know if I'd take him at 21. I think I would.
I'd take him at 21.
Yeah, he's disruptive. He fits the system. He's got a lot to work with. Length, explosiveness. He's a pretty good prospect.
Let him learn from Cam. And
Right. He doesn't have to play a ton right away, but you'll mix him in on passing downs for sure.
He might be your starter.
He could be, right.
He could be. I mean, yeah. So, all right. So Derek Harmon is the pick.
Great. That worked out as planned.
Absolutely. All right. We're up now at 61. Top players available. Cam Scatabo, running back from Arizona State.
He scares me more and more. You talk about Johnny Knoxville. I just don't know how he holds up. I love watching him. I want to root for him. I like him. I just would worry about him being in the league more than 2 years.
Darian Porter, cornerback from Iowa State. Jared Ivey, edge rusher from Mississippi. Omar Norman Lott.
Let me stop you super quick. I mean, Labs had some good counter arguments to adding another.
Sure.
Which I don't think any of us would have ever turned our nose up. But Porter's kind of like the perfect guy to do that. Just sit around behind Slay for a year and learn and have ridiculous traits.
You know, Porter and Porter.
And that's so fun. So he'd be somebody that says you get a bonus prize from this pick. I would consider it. I want to know who else is there.
Could you double down?
He's also good on teams.
We took Harmon in the first round. Could you double down and take Jared Ivey?
I'm not a big enough fan of Ivey. Not in the second. I just don't think he's worth that pick. I got no problem with the idea. I think that's just too rich for him.
6'6", 285 is 6'6", 285.
Oh, I know.
There's production. 8 sacks in each of the last 2 seasons.
I mean, I'm not looking at your computer or your screen, but I bet there's other D linemen I like better than him on the board.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's just my hunch. And I would take Porter over him.
Omar Norman Lott.
I have feelings on him, too. You know,
Dylan Sampson.
Like Norman Lott, okay, boy, he's so productive in a short number of snaps. Well, that doesn't mean you can triple his snaps and then triple his sacks.
Yeah,
it doesn't extrapolate out.
He's not for me. He's too short.
He's too short for here. Yeah.
Dylan Sampson, running back from Tennessee. Kyle Kennard, edge rusher from South Carolina. Benjamin Morrison, cornerback Notre Dame.
You could wait on him too.
You could. Josiah
I'm not
Stewart,
saying you have to take a corner, but
the edge rusher from Michigan. C.J. West,
interesting.
nose tackle from Indiana. Travion Henderson.
He's my favorite back.
Running back from Ohio State. Alfred Collins.
Would be really
nose
hard
tackle
for me
from
to turn
Texas.
on. Yeah.
Like, okay. I don't even know. Do we have to go any farther? I mean, there's like 4 or 5 guys there that I think.
Coughlin's to me is my favorite. I mean, some of those corners are intriguing if there wasn't another big-time difference maker D lineman. A couple of notes I just want to make here, though. And I've been really guilty of this, too, is I think there's a misconception in the league and in the Steeler defense that because you're 320 pounds or more, you're only a nose here.
Yeah.
Teams are more interested in length with those because they deal with tackles, you know, like the Hayward positions, you know, like Collins, Grant. I threw a mock out there the other day, and they're like, well, Collins is only a nose here. I'm like, you're not seeing it right. I mean, they would line him up over a tackle a lot of snaps on a 4-eye or a head up over a tackle a lot. So he would play more than just first down, straight nose over the center.
Now you would have 4 of those guys.
And right. And
that you
they could all line
just
up
rotate.
Cam's laid up over noses. I mean, like, you could just pick and choose your matchups.
I retweeted the video today. Somebody put out a video of my guy Robinson from Nebraska. His sacks, he had 6.5 sacks last year.
Okay.
If you watch the video, and you can go to my Twitter and see this because I retweeted it, all 6 of his sacks came from different spots on the defensive line.
I bet.
He was just all over the place.
They
lined him up inside. They lined him up on the nose. They lined him up, he's over the guard.
So much more that happens than sometimes we even give it credit for. Is he a nose or is he an end? You know,
do a little bit of all of it.
Out.
Yeah.
Collins would be my pick, but would you consider Milroe over him if he's still there? I don't know that I would with him. Like if C.J. West was my best D lineman, I would probably take Milroe over him. And I like West a lot.
Yeah, I think I'd take Collins.
I think Collins is really hard to back away from.
Alfred Collins it is.
Okay.
Now that you're set on your defensive line.
You would hope for years.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or at least for year or two.
It would be very much akin to last year's draft when they took 3 offensive linemen. Because you know, at any one
play
time,
fewer of those guys.
Yeah, at any one time you only play 3 defensive linemen, but you're going to rotate those guys. Now you've added a huge infusion of
And if
youth.
the draft went that way, I'm not implying one of them's going to bust. But if they did, you're still probably okay. You know,
Yeah.
not
Now,
every
we
draft
did
pick hits.
pass on the running back situation, but that's okay. Quarterback, Milroe is still there with our pick at 83.
I'd be very interested in that.
Okay.
Very interested in that.
The running back's available because you're not taking another defensive guy now.
No, I think
Really.
you're done.
Harvey, R.J. Harvey from UCF, DJ Giddens from K-State, Devin Neal from Kansas, Damian Martinez from Miami, Jaden Blue from Texas, Bashal Tutin from Virginia Tech, Brashard Smith from SMU. Then you're looking at Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt from Arizona.
None of them make me jump up and down to use a third-round pick on.
No, yeah.
I look at Milroe as someone that could change the franchise. He could do nothing, but he could change the franchise. None of those running backs can change the franchise.
Offensive tackles, Jonas Iavania. He's probably more of a guard, as is Wyatt Millam from West Virginia.
Would you consider Jonah here? I mean,
he could be your starting guard next year.
as I say, he's probably almost guaranteed it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty good value is all I'm saying.
Yeah. No, I hear you.
Yeah. We've never gone down that road, but he might do something for you.
Wyatt Millam from West Virginia. Cameron Williams from Texas. Charles Grant from William & Mary. Anthony Belton, North Carolina State.
It's a pretty good pile to pick from.
Yeah. But do you take one of those guys over the quarterback?
I would take all those guys over the running backs. I think I'd take Milroe over all those guys.
Okay.
Just because it's such a swing.
We'll take Jalen Milroe.
Okay. I know that won't be
Super popular.
super popular. Some people are like, yeah, that's great. Some people say he's never going to be there. Some people say, like, what a wasted pick.
All right.
He's a polarizing figure.
Yeah. Now we're up again at 123, the running backs. Jaden Blue from Texas. Bashal Tutin, Virginia Tech. Brashard Smith, SMU. They're almost all the same player.
Yeah, I kind of figured they might be. Real quick, like on a Blue or a Tutin or a Sampson, these smaller explosive guys that they've shown interest in. I was asked about this on a mailbag the other day. It's like I really am starting to lean that they are leaning towards taking that type of back.
They're not necessarily sold on a big guy.
Right. And I know this isn't like the most exciting name out there, but you could sign Gus Edwards to be your – we got a 10-point lead guy. I mean, there's probably 5 Gus Edwards out there that would cost nothing after the draft.
Yeah.
After you draft one of these little guys and see how it happens. Like
I think there might also be
the heavy-footed banger that on 4th and 2.
They might also be telling us where they're thinking about drafting a running back.
Yeah.
And who are the guys that are going to be
Marion
available
Hampton isn't on
in
the
round
list.
4?
Right. Yeah.
Well, it's going to be these guys. All
One
right,
of
so
these guys,
let's learn as much as we can about these guys.
Right. And maybe you do add a Dobbins or an Edwards or somebody like that on the cheap and bring them all to camp and see what shakes out.
The one guy who is a little bit, he's got a little more size to him, is Jarquez Hunter.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever taken him, but I don't dislike him at all.
Yeah.
Is he 210?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
5'10", 210.
Yeah.
So he's put together.
He can kind of Jalen Warren-ish, you know?
Yeah. Krosky Merritt is also in that same
What
vein.
non-running backs are near the top of the list?
You're looking at, let me kill the positions here.
O-line, corner.
Jonas
Some
Sanker,
receiver you can't believe is there.
the safety from Virginia. Gunnar Helm, the tight end from Texas.
Neither one of those moved the needle.
Riley Leonard, quarterback from Notre Dame.
Definitely out on quarterback.
Jalen Rivers, offensive tackle from Miami. Brandon Crenshaw Dixon, the offensive tackle from Florida. Noah Williams, the cornerback from Cal. I mentioned Jaden Blue. Barrett Carter, linebacker from Clemson. Willie Lampkin. He's going to probably play center in the NFL. He's 5'10".
He might be a fullback. None of those names make me want to get
Kaiser,
away. I think this is running back time.
Torrey Horton.
If one of those tackles would have still been there, Belton was there or something.
Chase Lunt is there.
I admittedly need to do a little more
only.
homework on him.
Yeah, he's going to be tackle only.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not seeing.
There's not a wide out that you can't believe still there. Or,
no, there really isn't.
Yeah. top interior lineman. I think you go running back here.
I'm not seeing a lot there. Kyle Williams is there.
I'm a fan.
Which running back you want to go?
You want to go with Hunter? I don't remember everyone that's still there because I know that I liked a lot of names a round ago, but I'm sure some of them are gone. Martinez is gone. Tutin's gone.
Do you think Bashal Tutin's fumbling issues can be corrected?
Well, if they can't, I'm going to put him on the bench.
Yeah.
And I'm going to sign somebody else.
Yeah. Is that worth the fourth round?
To me, it is.
He's talented.
To me, it is.
He's talented. He's uber talented.
You got this one problem you need to fix, and if you don't, you're not going to stay in this league very long.
We're going to glue the ball to your hand throughout training camp.
Yeah, yeah.
You're going to sleep with the ball.
Whatever it takes. And, I mean, I don't know the Steelers running back coach history of curing fumbleitis, but every running back coach has dealt with a
They didn't have to deal with it with Najee.
Right.
You know.
But every running back coach somewhere in their career has dealt with
somebody.
That's all I'm saying.
I mean, Jaylen Warren has had issues at
times.
Right.
He's not ball security master.
Typically when he's been fighting for extra yards, and I've seen him carrying the football around when something like that happens.
Right.
Just to remind yourself. And I know they work on it at every practice. They've always got guys beating at the football. You've seen the pictures with the boxing gloves on the mitt and you're banging at the ball and the guy.
But that's so much different than T.J. Watt or Peanut Tillman in the middle of a game.
Which becomes the problem if you get that reputation as a fumbler, and if you come into the league with the reputation as a fumbler, guys are going to go after it.
Oh yeah, and every rookie to begin with anyway. I mean. To me, I brought up the position coach, but that's as much on the player than anything.
Yeah,
I mean,
and it may be
we
a
all know your
situation.
problem
I haven't
is.
watched all of his fumbles.
No, I haven't either.
You know, is he loose with the ball when he's cornering and things of that nature? I don't know.
Are they up by 30? And he's
example, like when you see a lot of times the running quarterbacks have issues.
Like the ball comes away from their frame.
The ball comes away from their frame, and somebody catches them from behind, and they bang it out. It happens to Lamar all the time.
I know Tootin was in for a visit, and I know the upside's tremendous. I think at this spot, that's worth the risk.
Let's take him.
Right. And he knows what his problem is.
Right. All right, so we are now up at 156. Johnny Cornelius, offensive tackle from Oregon. Billy Bowman, safety from Oklahoma.
I like him. I just don't know that there's a spot for that guy.
Smaller.
Yeah.
Khalil Mullins, running back from Michigan. Jake Bringenstool, tight end from Clemson. Elijah Huzzy, cornerback from North Carolina. Trevor Etienne, running back from Georgia. Kyle Williams, wide receiver, Washington State.
I'm really shocked he's still there. I would take him in a heartbeat.
Jackson Haas, tight end from Georgia Tech. Upton Stout, safety from Western Kentucky. Isaac Tesla, wide receiver from Arkansas.
I'd really like to add a O-lineman of some sort, but if you wait, they dry up pretty quick.
Tyler Cooper, the guard from Minnesota, probably the top interior guy there. Logan Brown is there, the offensive tackle from Kansas.
There's a lot of ability there. I'm shocked Kyle Williams is there. I almost think that's a bit of a glitch and a bit of a cheat code. We're in the 5th round, right?
Yeah.
I don't think he gets out of day 2.
Pick 156, yeah.
I don't think he gets out of day 2.
I don't think he does either. So you want to take one of the offensive linemen?
I would take Brown of that group.
All right.
A little bit of a late bloomer, but he's got all the physical tools to be a tackle.
Logan Brown it is.
Okay.
If it doesn't work out, you move him to guard.
Or
your
draft
swing
another
guy.
one, right? That's why you just keep taking cracks at those guys.
All right, we're up at 185. Kyle McCord, still there.
No, we took Milrow. But and if we hadn't, you could easily convince me that that's a great McCord spot.
Tonka Hemingway, defensive lineman from South Carolina.
We haven't taken a second D lineman.
We took 2.
Oh, yeah, we did, right off the bat. Yeah. Okay, you're right.
Caleb Ransaw, the safety out of Tulane. Caden Priscorn, I should say, tight end out of Ole Miss. Tim Smith, the defensive lineman from Alabama. Brady Cook, quarterback from Missouri. It's a lot of
redundant positions.
A lot of redundant positions for us here. I'm going to
blocking tight end.
Dante Thornton, wide receiver out of Tennessee.
Yeah, he's big and fast.
Weird
offense he's coming from, but he could redshirt here.
Jalen Smith, the cornerback out of USC.
Okay.
There's some things there to like about him. He's
gonna help on teams now.
He's big enough. He's 5'11", 190.
I like that route.
Yeah, I mean he was much. I just think that you take a bite out of it there and see how it works out.
I got no problem with that at all.
He was at SC. You assume he was a highly recruited guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, he's big enough.
That works for me.
Just throw it in there. Throw him into the mix.
Mm-hmm. One more,
And we still have a pick left at 229. Top players available. Max Brosmer, quarterback out of Minnesota. Jake Majors is center from Texas. Katan Crawford, safety out of Nevada. Oronde Gadsden, the second tight end from Syracuse. Graham Mertz, quarterback from Florida. Craig Woodson, safety out of California. Jimmy Horn Jr., wide receiver from Colorado. Malachi Moore, safety from Alabama. Hunter Wohler, safety from Wisconsin. Jaquindon Jackson, running back from Arkansas. Jaquavius Marks, running back out of USC. He might be the best pass-catching back in this.
Yeah, say he might be your return guy too, and
5'10", 208.
I mean, he's the type of guy that if you waited another round, you'd be calling like crazy and offering,
trying to get him in.
Right. So just take him and make sure he's in.
They still have Ty Robinson all the way down here.
That's cheap.
He's the best player by far.
Right.
At that point. Josh Gray is still there as well.
I'm a fan of his too.
Yeah.
We've taken him quite a bit, but
yeah. I'm just looking here. Xavier Truss is there. All right. Let's take we'll go ahead and take, what did I say there?
Gray or
let's take John Quaver. We'll take two running backs.
Yeah, or the back. Yeah,
we can find a spot for him.
Okay.
Maybe we can play some teams too.
I would hope. I would think he's a returner.
Go down and cover some kicks too.
Well, those guys need to learn that.
Your 7th round pick.
You're a running back draft in the 6th or 7th round. You're going to learn. You're going to learn to cover kicks. You're not going to be in the league.
Okay, so we traded back from 21 back to 29. We also got 61 back from Washington, and that netted us Derek Harmon in the first round. Alfred Collins in the second round, the defensive tackle from Texas. We then took Jalen Milroe, quarterback from Alabama, in round 3. Round 4 was Bashel Tootin, running back from Virginia Tech. In round 5, we took Logan Brown, offensive tackle from Kansas. In round 6, cornerback Jalen Smith from USC. And in round 7, we got somebody to room with at training camp because we took Jaquavius Marks, the running back from USC.
Cool. I like the first 3 a lot, and just what they could become. Project tackle makes me happy. 2 running backs to kind of throw at the problem. You only need 1 to show up, and see what happens.
You could take 2 running backs this year because, again, you don't have any running backs under contract for next year.
Right. Even if one just ends up on the practice squad or kind of red shirts more or less.
And that's
throw them in the mix.
Likely to happen this year in terms of because there's so many good backs coming into the league. They're not all going to make their roster.
Oh, no.
Some of these guys are going to end up on practice squads.
Right. No, you're right.
So
I'm cool with that.
Yeah. Let's get to a break. He is the Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. Matt and I'll be back with more right after this. Welcome back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, and we just went through our 7-round mock draft.
Mm-hmm.
Lance Zierlein on NFL.com has his mock draft 3.0.
Oh, okay. Came out today, right?
Came out today. He has 2 teams. I'm just reading the headline here. I haven't seen it yet. 2 teams trading up for quarterbacks.
Ooh.
And the Bears add a playmaker on offense. That's the headline.
That's the headline. All right. Maybe the Steelers are a trade-up team.
Let's see what happens here. He has the Tennessee Titans taking Miami quarterback Cam Ward. That is the chalkiest of chalk.
Right.
Yeah.
I think Carter's becoming pretty chalky at 2.
At 2, the Browns then take Abdul Carter. I think they take their quarterback at the top of round 2.
Or maybe they trade back in their first round, or if Sanders starts to fall, are they the dart team?
There's a lot of talk about them trading for Kirk Cousins.
And that too. Right. I could see their quarterback room being Pickett, Cousins, Shuck, Dart, something like that. Not QB1, but another one that's a day 2 pick or something like that.
At 3, the Giants take Travis Hunter, cornerback wide receiver out of Colorado.
I think he's the best player in the draft.
He reportedly ran a 4.30.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Do you think they would take him over Sanders? I don't think they're close as prospects.
I think they could be a team that looks at it and says, we're going to trade up into the – maybe when he's talking about trade ups, it could be them.
Get back in. It's hard to pass on Carter and Hunter for Sanders.
Right, yeah. They're much better prospects.
They're much better prospects. I mean, a tier or two ahead of him.
At 4, the Patriots take Will Campbell, offensive lineman from LSU.
Maybe with the arm length thing, that gets to be a little more chalky over Membo. Yeah, I don't know.
And, I mean, you're talking about the same coaching staff that took in Tennessee, they took
Skoronski. Right.
So
okay. Good point.
Maybe they don't care as much. They just want a
maybe
good
not.
player.
Right. Even if he's a guard for him, I mean, he might be a great one.
Yeah.
They need old Leo line stuff.
They got to refit and retool the whole thing. At 5, the Jaguars take Mason Graham, defensive tackle from Michigan.
Fair enough.
The Raiders then take, at 6, Jalen Walker, linebacker from Georgia.
Their edge guys aren't bad, though.
You could play him.
You could do all the above.
Yeah. At 7, the Jets take Armand Membo, Missouri offensive tackle.
That'd be hard to pass. 2 tackles going in the top 7, even if they're not premier tackle prospects.
Doesn't surprise me at all.
That's the way the world
We've been
works.
talking about that the whole time. These guys are going to get pushed up the board.
That's just how it goes.
At 8, the Panthers take Mykel Williams, the other Georgia edge rusher.
Okay. Played injured this year. That needs to be thrown out there.
At 9, the Saints take Jihad Campbell, Alabama linebacker.
You think they'd take him over Sanders?
Brandon Staley's a new defensive coordinator there, and they're going to go to a 3-4 defense.
Mm-hmm. They don't have people like him.
They don't have that.
No, they got Cam Jordans and Brisseys and guys like that. They don't have a lot of stuff, though.
Yeah.
Including a quarterback.
But a quarterback for your defense would be helpful.
I mean, Demario Davis won't be there much longer.
And it's not a great linebacker draft, so.
If you're going to get one, he's the one to get.
He's the one, yeah.
I don't hate the pick. I just thought that'd be a Sanders landing spot.
At 10, the Bears take Ashton Genty.
Be hard to turn your nose up.
Yeah.
Swift isn't enough to get in your way, and he's up after this year, too.
At 11, the 49ers take Kelvin Banks Jr., Texas offensive tackle. 3 tackles in the top 11.
That's how the world works.
Yeah. At 12, the Cowboys take Matthew Golden,
I like
receiver
that fit.
from Texas.
I like that fit a lot. They have a lot of needs, too, but I like that fit.
13, the Dolphins take Kenneth Grant, Michigan defensive tackle.
Their D-tackle room is bad.
It's devoid of talent, yeah. 14, the Colts take Tyler Warren, the Penn State tight end.
Fair. A little chalky. I don't know if he gets that far.
15, the Falcons take Will Johnson, cornerback from Michigan.
I mean, everyone on the planet gives them an edge. But if you went Johnson and then edge in round 2 as opposed to edge and corner in round 2, you'd probably be better off this route.
Probably, yeah. They've tried the edge in round 1.
They took 2 of them in day 2 last year, too, and it didn't work out. No matter what they do at the edge, they screw it up. But
At 16, the Cardinals take Tyler Booker, guard from Alabama.
Yeah, they're kind of a guard away from filling out the O-line.
At 17, the Bengals take Mike Green, edge rusher from Marshall.
Totally adds up.
18, the Seahawks take Tedero McMillan, Arizona wide receiver.
It's sort of a DK replacement.
Yeah.
Much different than JSN.
Yeah.
Sure.
That would make sense.
That would make a lot of sense. I like that fit.
At 19, Shamar Stewart, edge rusher from Texas A&M, goes to Tampa Bay.
Still very much in need. Yeah.
Shedeur Sanders still there.
Still there, yeah.
At 20, the Broncos take Omarion Hampton, running back from North Carolina.
I don't know that he can fall past there. I think that might be his floor.
That's starting to get a little.
I could even see the
chalkish.
Bears at 9, the Cowboys. Yeah.
21. The Steelers
Guess
projected
the Steelers
to trade out.
Trade out.
And the Rams come
Lance
up.
is pretty dialed in.
The Rams
they don't take
come up to
Sanders
get
or Dart.
Jahdae Barron.
Nice. Okay. So they moved back. We were just talking
moved back
Rams
to 26.
Trade, 26. Okay.
Yeah, so you're definitely getting 90 out of them, I would think.
They don't tell you the details.
He
of the
doesn't give you
trade
the
or whatever.
details.
Okay.
It's not here. But I would assume if you got 90 this year, you're probably also getting something next year as well.
I would think you're at least getting a third next year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At 22, the Chargers then take Colston Loveland.
That would be hard for Harbaugh to pass on that.
At 23, the Packers take Siobhan Revell Jr., cornerback from East Carolina.
He's really, really good.
At 24, there's a trade. Ding, ding, ding. The Cleveland Browns trading back into the first round.
Yes, like we
In
suspected.
a trade
that makes
with the Minnesota Vikings to get
they need the second day pick. That makes all the sense in the world for the Vikes.
Shador Sanders.
Cool. I mean, if Browns fans would be like, okay, I don't care what I give up for Sanders and Carter.
Yeah.
Okay.
They've tried this before. They've gone down this road several times in the last 2 decades.
Would have been cool, though, if
where
it was,
they take the position player early and then take a quarterback later, and it hasn't worked out yet.
No, nothing they have has. But what I would have done just to make it a little more fun is I had the Giants do it, so Hunter and Sanders both go to the Giants together.
There you go.
Yeah.
They could have done that as well.
I know.
The Browns could have done that.
Browns could have, right. I understand the Browns taking Carter over Hunter.
At 25, the Texans take Ohio State guard Donovan Jackson. That's what, the 5th or 6th offensive lineman in the first round, which is
Yeah, that's how it works. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
At 26, the Steelers, after trading back, take the guy that we just took, Derek Harmon, at 26.
Okay. I think I would have considered it at 21 with Grant off the board.
Yeah. No problem with that.
No.
At 27, the Baltimore Ravens then take Nick Emuwari, South Carolina safety. They would have the two
Him
biggest
and Hamilton, right?
two
Holy
monsters
cow.
on the back end of
right.
their
Those are
defense.
some real joker, do-it-all dudes, right?
Yeah. At 28, the Lions take Josh Connerly Jr., offensive tackle out of Oregon. So there's another offensive lineman taken.
I like that because Decker's not long for this world.
Yeah.
I mean, Connerly might not even start for them this year, but they can afford it. And tackles don't grow on trees. Just groom that guy.
At 29, the Commanders take Trey Amos, cornerback from Mississippi.
It's a need.
They kick Sanistro inside. And
Put him opposite Lattimore and
Yeah.
kind of fill that out.
at 30, the Buffalo Bills take Donovan Ezereku, the edge rusher from Boston College.
It'd be instant help. I mean, he's got a really developed pass rush repertoire.
He's built a little differently than the rest of their defensive linemen, though.
He is.
Yeah.
I kind of thought, oh, that's kind of an odd fit.
Yeah, because they have a bunch of those long, lanky guys.
Mm-hmm. He has a different style to him.
At 31, Kansas City takes Josh Simmons, offensive tackle from Ohio State.
That'd be great.
I think that's 7 offensive linemen in the first round.
You know, they paid more, so they can at least hold down the fort with their 2 tackles while Simmons recovers or whatever.
At 32, ding, 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 we got another trade. The New Orleans Saints coming back up into the first round with the Philadelphia Eagles, making a deal for Jackson Dart, quarterback out of Ole Miss.
I like this mock. Well thought out by Lance. I think the quarterback landing spots are a little more logical.
They make more sense.
They make a little more
You're
sense.
not reaching for any of these guys.
They end up in the spots you think they might, but at the right price, and the teams that moved out make sense. And he's smart enough to realize a Steeler trade back / D tackle would be a pretty good move.
Yeah.
You know, we've only done that 100 times.
And
on
I could see,
our mocks,
I could see a team wanting to come up to get a Jahdae Barron.
Oh, if you're the Rams and
Yeah.
Barron's still sitting there at 21,
He's
a
a
perfect
good
piece
football.
for them, right?
I would consider taking Barron.
Yeah, he might be one of the highest guys on the board at
Yeah.
that point. I mean, that's I think corner is their biggest need, the Rams.
Yeah.
And that guy sitting there still, that makes all the sense in the world to me.
Yeah.
Rams fans would be like, yeah, I'll give up a third and whatever for that.
Yeah. So interesting. A lot of offensive linemen, more than we've seen maybe in some previous mock drafts, and
That's going to happen.
it's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
A lot of the edge rushers, that's going to happen.
Yeah. The positions are hard to find.
Only 2 wide receivers.
1 safety, 2 backs. That third back wasn't
Yeah.
crazy. Dart is the last pick. I mean, so the quarterbacks weren't crazy either, but then they were late.
Yeah.
You know?
So yeah,
That's a good one.
That one makes as much sense as anything I've seen thus far.
Yeah, I think that one makes as much or more sense. I kind of wish I wrote that one. You know, like I like all the pieces kind of add up. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, even a goofy thing like the Lions love O linemen. Well, Connerly needs a year.
Yeah.
Well, we'll give him a year.
Well, for the
Right.
Chiefs, I mean, the Chiefs
that
get
tackle.
Simmons, and
Yeah.
all right, we can live with Jawan Taylor another year. We signed the
And
guy.
more, and
yeah.
right, and Suamataia is still in the mix. It's like good teams take those type of guys.
Yeah,
you
maybe
know?
he's ready to play by midseason. We'll see where he's at. You know, that kind of stuff.
Right, and tackles are hard to find, and you pick late, you might have to wait a year for them. You know?
Yeah, you can.
No, I like that.
Yeah, so Interesting. That was Lance Zierlein's mock draft 3.0.
Well done.
There we go. Let's get to a break. He is the Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. We'll be back to finish up the show right after this. Welcome back. I'm Dale Lolley. This is The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network with, of course, Matt Williamson as well. And you can hear The Drive every Monday through Friday, and Sundays, and
Here and there, yeah.
things of that nature.
The draft coverage coming
Draft
up. all
coverage
kinds
coming
of
up.
stuff, right.
We'll be on there wall-to-wall for the most part. And you can also download the Steelers mobile app and get the show there. And you can watch on YouTube. Leave your comments there. Give us a thumbs up, which helps the algorithm there. We appreciate that.
Leave us comments, follow us on Twitter, all that good stuff.
Leave us comments that Matt won't read. That's
Sometimes they get back to me.
Matt, Ian Valentino on the 33rd team has put out a piece called Desperation Picks Teams Must Avoid in the 2025 Draft.
Okay.
And number one on here
Be an
is
interesting exercise, yeah.
Shedeur Sanders being drafted by the Cleveland Browns.
I'd say 2 or 3. Yeah, and is a desperation pick. And we see it all the time. And sometimes they work out, but I wonder if we did a study, like last year would be a terrible example, as would the year before. But quarterback 2, I bet often gets overdrafted. Quarterback 1's obvious. It's Joe Burrow. He's good, Quarterback 2, I bet, gets overdrafted a lot, like Mariota, Wentz.
Quarterback 3 is the one that really gets overdrafted, I think.
Yeah.
Turns
How many
into
years
Trey Lance
how many years really have 3 franchise quarterbacks?
Yeah.
And they still go.
Next on here is any running back to the Dallas Cowboys in round 1. Kind of goes back to what you mentioned. They have a lot of needs.
Yeah, but if Genty's there, or they just assume he's not.
I don't know that Genty is going to be there.
Right.
And they have bigger needs. You can find a running back.
And there's so many of them, right?
They forced it last year. Mm-hmm. They didn't have a run, and again, a guy who was just a guy.
Like if you were in charge of their war room and it's Golden versus Hampton, are you taking Golden? That's who they took in the last
Based on your need and what's available.
Mm-hmm. It's not a great day 2 receiver class.
Yeah.
I mean, I see both sides.
Yeah. It depends. I don't know how they would have those guys weighted,
But there's other needs too, O-line.
For the Carolina Panthers, forcing a pass rusher.
Yeah, but I don't know that it would be forced. I mean, there's so many. If you took Green or if you took Michael Williams, I mean, there's going to be one. They picked pretty high.
They're like 8th.
Yeah, right.
In the mock we just did with Lance Zierlein, they took Jalen Walker 8th. I don't know that Jalen Walker is the 8th best player in this draft.
There's such it's a weird one because there's such mixed opinions on him. I could see him being a tweener that never works out as either, or I could see a really dynamic play caller, Flores, taking him and getting a lot out of him.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ability, but there aren't many players with his dimensions that succeed as edge guys. There's not a lot of proofs. There's not a lot of comps. He's not Micah Parsons.
The next one is Malachi Starks to the Miami Dolphins.
I mean, he gets mocked there a lot. They lost Holland. I mean, I like them taking Grant better. That was that last draft. I
think that's his point. Like taking Malachi Starks at 13
is probably rich.
Yeah,
it probably is. I mean, he might be there in their second round.
He could be.
Maybe.
He
or
could
close,
be.
Or you move up 5 spots or something like that.
But they do have a gaping hole there after letting Javon Holland leave.
Their whole defense is a lot of problems.
Yeah.
I don't know how many games that team's going to win next year.
He also has the Colts taking a tight end, which is very. You see that in every mock draft. Yeah. You see,
I don't see
whether it be Warren or Loveland, it's always.
Considering their receiving core, I don't think another pass catcher is at the top of the list of needs.
Yeah.
I think it's often the case of mockers want to put these guys.
I think them
in the
taking
first
a
round.
defensive player
Makes more
or
sense
an
to
offensive
me.
lineman would make a lot more sense.
They lost a center, they lost a guard, and I think they have replacements, but they're not slam dunks.
Yeah.
I think people want Warren or Loveland to go in that neighborhood.
Right. I could see maybe somebody trades up to get one of those guys. Potentially.
Right. I mean, I like Warren, but does he make Richardson a hit?
No.
No? All right.
Yeah.
I'd rather take a guard or center to help my quarterback maybe.
Kansas City adding an offensive lineman.
I might disagree there.
I would disagree with that.
I mean, I'm not taking the 50th best player there, but
I mean, we just saw Simmons go there. That would be a great pick for them.
Awesome. Or the other Ohio State dude, or you know what I mean? He's the Tooney.
They could also use a defensive tackle.
They absolutely could.
Yeah.
But protecting Mahomes has to be job number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
We've talked about it for years with the Bengals.
Like Pat Mahomes.
Yeah.
Keep him as clean as possible.
That is it.
The only time he hasn't won a Super Bowl is when they can't protect for him.
Those are the ones that he has on there. I would also include Steelers taking a quarterback in round one.
Yeah. 100%.
I mean, I can't stress that enough.
Right. I mean, that's forcing it to me.
Yeah.
I mean, even if it's Shador sitting there. I mean, he almost got there in the mock that we went through.
He did
get there. He went past there, right. I would still take a D lineman over.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would.
I think I would too.
Assuming Rodgers isn't tow. I mean, even so, it shouldn't change your decision. Either you like him enough to think he's a franchise guy
franchise
or not,
quarterback or not. And if you don't, then you don't take him.
Yeah. And if he is, you always take him.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
It's really that simple. It doesn't matter if Rodgers exists or not.
And I don't want to be talking out of both sides of our mouth here because we both think that Jalen Milroe could be
it could be
that guy.
But you're buying him a different discount.
But you're not taking him at 21.
No chance. I would never give up a 21st pick for Milroe.
Yeah.
And I could see why a team would be like, I can't wait to get my hands on that guy. I want to develop him. I just want him to sit for a year like crazy, maybe do some Wildcat stuff or gimmicky stuff just to get him in stadiums, as they say.
Yeah.
And,
some experience.
Yeah. And that's a good project for me.
And he's different than, say, the Trey Lance or Richardson.
Well, they take them in the top 5.
Milroe has way more starting experience than both of those guys.
Played a lot more football. I don't know if those two are smart, dumb,
no idea,
rocket scientists or whatever, but Milroe's very, very bright. Student of the system. Again, I'm not saying those guys aren't. Everyone in Tuscaloosa adores them. Like all that stuff is there too. Again, I don't know if those guys do or not.
But you take the guy, you don't reach for the guy, and you just there are different
that's
levels.
That's
forcing it.
That's what this article was, right? It's forcing it. Yeah, that's forcing it.
Yeah, don't do that.
No, I'm on board with that.
Yeah. So, one other thing we didn't talk about, and Justin brought this up, is the NFL voting to kind of get rid of the
chain gangs.
They're not
they're
getting rid of them. They're still going to be there. They're still going to be the backup, but they're going to, and they kind of talked about this a couple weeks ago. They're going to utilize the eye in the sky, the Hawkeye technology to.
There won't be a chip in the ball.
No,
everyone always talks about.
But they've got cameras everywhere, and they're going to use those to spot the football.
Again, I hesitate to talk about it because I know I don't know, but I kind of get the impression it's like the goal line cams, where they're going to have one on each sideline right at the first down marker, as well as all the different cameras to
really
sync it all
spot
up.
the football.
And I guess if it's a big time scrum and you can't. The chain gang still
available.
They still are the backup plan now.
So
cool.
The technology is moving along.
Yeah. I know we're right up against it, but one little small note I want to mention too is Calais Campbell went back to Arizona.
Yeah, we talked about that.
I didn't know if he'd
yesterday.
ever end up.
Yeah.
Oh, did we? Okay.
We talked about him yesterday.
You and I talked about it in the airport. I didn't know if we talked about it on the air, but
we had talked about him on the show yesterday.
Yeah,
as being a potential guy. He's now with the Arizona Cardinals.
I'd love to have matched him with Cam and just, 1 year. Not that he's the answer at D-line, but he goes back home and, a lot of people retire.
Goes back to where he started.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So he's off the board.
Matt, that's going to do it for today's show.
Yeah, we'll be back at it tomorrow.
We have traveled the length of the country today to make this happen. We now actually get to go home for the first time since
we got
Saturday.
some full bags to unload and probably write some articles.
A lot of stuff to do. Got more work to do tonight because
bit.
you can't do a lot of work when you're in a hotel room. But that's going to do it for our show. So for my partner, Matt Williamson, for Justin Miller here on site, running the Justin Miller hotline and getting us Bob Labriola today, and for Tyler Vittmeyer, making sure our video gets out there onto YouTube, I am Dale Lolley. We thank you for listening to this edition of The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network.
Steelers football happens here. The Pittsburgh Steelers Audio Network.